I signed Proclamation number 1089, placing the entire Philippines under martial law. Under martial law.
The love of Marcos, no price or price is too high to pay by the president or by his procurers in the matter of satisfying the presidential genitals. It could be a fat government contract, an unsecured multi-million peso loan, or anything of valuable consideration. The presidential egomaniacal desire to prove that he is still a sexually virile man has had to be served. It is true that a secret, no matter how long well kept, cannot be hidden for long. There were times when military briefings or conferences outside the palace have had to be faked with the president's number one pip, Major General Fabian Vercillogo, who is also chief of the palace secret police. The president's sexual trips are classified as high priority security matters. President Ferdinand Marcos have been faced the worst love scandal in Philippine history. Before Dovie Beams and even before Imelda, the love of Marcos were quite known. There was Carmen Ortega, by whom the president has begotten 4 children, 2 of them before he became Senator of the Philippines. It was Carmen whom the president's mother wanted to have a daughter-in-law, but Imelda proved faster than Carmen in getting Ferdinand to marry her on May 1, 1955. Before, Judge Francisco Maria Chanco in La Trinidad Valley Benguet in the mountain provinces, up till now, the old lady, Donna Josefa, still voices regrets that her son didn't marry Carmen, abusus Ilocano mestiza. Anyway, Carmen has been completely provided for along with her brood of 4 small Marcoses. As a matter of fact, the welfare of Carmen and her children was the reason President Marcos could not dismiss his forestry director, Antonio Quijado, despite the presentation by the Vice President Fernando Lopez. Then, concurrently, the Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources of overwhelming evidence of graft and corruption involving Quijado. Quijado was assigned by the President and Donna Josefa to take care of Carmen and her brood. Aside from the President's Ferdinand Marcos had an affair with many more ladies, including some of the Blue Ladies, then an initial of GC, FM, Mrs. P, CS. Somehow, the GC-FM affair had ended up with a presidential victory. CS is one of the women that Imelda really hates, that lead to so fought in the San Francisco. Rumors are spreading that includes the American actress from Beverly Hills named Dovie had a relationship with President Marcos. Even though Dovie is an on-screen romantically linked Filipino actor, turned out to be a ruse. Those actor did not even know he was just used as a decoy by Dovie's perfect game for the president and Dovie. Dovie and the leading girl in the project motion picture Maharlika, which is revolved on the story in real-life President Marcos, despite of all the delay, minor controversies was led to be a complete waste that never showed in the film. It was betrayed. The saga of Dovie Beams in the Philippines was not by any means over at this point. A book which will document her love affair with President Marcos, including facts and events she came to know while she served as his mistress. Facts and events which have relevance to eventually declaration of the martial law in the Philippines would be written, and she would write it herself, she announced then. In the anticipation of the book, President True, the Republic magazine sought to destroy her credibility. Of the playing of the Larav tape in April 1971, anti-Dovie Beam articles, declaration of martial law by the President finally put to a stop to it.
In my early age when I was in high school, we were taught about how the martial law works, that if a person is against the government, he or she will be detained or will be arrested. All I can remember is that these people who was arrested are the person who are bad or against the Marcos regime. As I can remember, I really idolized Marcos for his great contribution to the Philippines that he built a lot of infrastructures that we are using now, such as the South Luzon Expressway. Getting to the real topic, that these people who are arrested during the Marcos regime was not a bad person after all. In fact, they are the people who fight to impeach Marcos from being the president of the Philippines. Most of the prisoners who were captured is a member of a group that is against the Marcos. These prisoners who was captured are being maltreated, tortured, raped, electric shocked, and other unforgivable methods. Liliosa Hilao has the most impact to me out of all the victims on Marcos' regime because her internal organs were removed, her face was missing, mouth was scorched by muriatic acid, and neck and throat were badly burned.
When my thoughts started to awaken, I was taught that the time of Marcos isn't that bad. I was taught that the Philippines was rich at that time. I was never taught that martial law had an impact up to this present day. But upon reading and watching documentaries given by our professor about martial law, I was shocked by the things that I discovered, and it leaves me for a minute to absorb the facts that I heard or watched. Yes, there were many structures built, but the Philippines was buried in debt. Before Marcos's time, the exchange of peso to dollar is 1:2. When Marcos started to rule the Philippines, it came down to 1:6. Anyway, martial law killed a lot of people, brutally. They were tortured and beaten to death. I can't imagine that this can happen to a country like the Philippines. In chapter 11, there were 12 Filipinos who were killed without any formal charges. They were just killed because of martial law. Imagine being caught by the policemen and being tortured to death without you committing any charges. They just brought you in. Now, imagine, 35,000 people were tortured, 3,000 people were killed, and 77% of all victims were salvaged. That's how brutal martial law is.
Because of the media, steered that most of the news for Marcos is all a negative thought, where media became very critical of the Marcos government, where the media steered public rebellion. Due to the General Order Number 2A of President Marcos in September 22, 1972, it leads to the imprisonment of most of influential journalists in print and electronic media.
Also, Proclamation Number 1081 on September 21, 1972, the takeover and control of all private owned newspaper, magazines, radio, and television facilities, and all other media communications. In this time, when the media became critical of the Marcos government. Also, there are no major issues of media killings. In 1972, PH Press had the reputation of being the freest and liveliest one in all Asia.
With the power of Letter of Instruction Number 1, all of the broadcasting corporations whose owners are engaged in subserve activities against the government are all forced to close their company. Those who criticized the excess and actions of Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos were sent to the military detention at Camp Crame or Fort Bonifacio. Editors and columnists were summoned to the Intelligence Division of the Philippine Armed Forces to answer questions about their political orientation.